This is HR Service Unscripted.
I'm like, curveball. I did find some good women leaders who I thought were notable. They don't necessarily lead like the largest company that everybody's familiar with, but I feel like that's very somewhat common. It's becoming more common. So I did find a couple of good ones that I want to go over. But one thing that kind of annoyed me as a woman was that it's all very young people for the most part. It's like,
Oh,
you see this trend over and over again in different industries that women, once they start aging, they no longer have value. They're no longer worth talking about. It's like, do we hold men to that same standard? And maybe I'm on a soapbox with that one, but I feel like once women hit 30, 35, they just disappear from the news.
Interesting.
Just
you
my
may
perspective.
have a point. You may have a point. Just
Even world
overall,
leaders.
well, Hollywood, for instance, even my personal self, this happened just last weekend, which is interesting. You brought it up that I showed one of our friends we've known forever pictures of myself 30 years ago versus now, and they said I've aged much better, that I look so much better now that I'm older. And I've
Interesting.
heard like the older actors in Hollywood, they're like, oh, they've matured. They're salt and pepper. They're so much better looking now than is it all looks? In marketing, they teach us sex sells kind of thing, right? But is that the same in business?
Wait, so I wonder if though, Liz, back to what you were saying, is it because it's so unusual to have a young woman in a leadership role and they're celebrating it, and that's why it's newsworthy?
I mean,
Because it's kind of expected of them?
that could be it, but I don't. When I reframed my search to look for older women, I came up with some good ones too, like Pepsi Cola. They've had a string of female CEOs, and I don't think that's celebrated enough. I mean, Pepsi people have mixed reviews on it and some of their programs, but overall, the fact that they've had so much female leadership, I think that's pretty impressive.
Do they currently have a female CEO?
I believe so. Let me double check real quick.
Interesting.
Pepsi CEO. No, it's a
I,
guy.
oh, it's a man right now.
Yeah.
It's so
Ramon
it's so
Laguarta.
challenging though, because even like still, if you think about like world leaders, I mean, I can still name like Angela Merkel, and then I know it's the is it the president of or somebody of one of the not Finland. It might
Mexico
be.
has a female president right now,
Oh, do they? Good for them. But like
Claudia
there's
Hardro.
still oh good. But typically there's so much vitriol aimed at I feel like women world leaders when it's they don't deserve it, they can like do no right. They were always so mean to Angela Merkel because she wasn't a beauty queen, right? And they would like make fun of her. Oh, who was the Margaret Thatcher? That poor woman was, I mean, The Crown didn't portray her very nicely, but apparently she was just like, they were so mean to that lady in the press, and she's doing her best. You would never hold a man to that kind of standard.
Well, even like Hillary Clinton, they were doing the same thing to her, holding her to her looks. And I think even in her recent testimony, they had mentioned like, "Oh, you look much prettier in person." Would you tell that to a man?
What? They said that?
They did. They told her, you look much prettier in person, and she accepted it and said she wouldn't debate it, which is very gracious of her. But at the same time, would somebody say that to a man that, "Oh, you look much better in person"?
Wow. First of all, everyone looks better in person. First of all, let's just
Hmm.
cover that.
Dang. I'm just appalled. Honestly, I'm like speechless. Like, who would say that right off the bat? You look so much better.
But you even
Everyone
see
like
it
that.
in the media with like astronauts. The females are asked, what type of makeup did you use, or what hairstyles did you miss while you were in space? Like, why are you asking those things?
Oh my goodness.
But
Another recent example is Maggie Gyllenhaal. She just directed that movie, The Bride. Um, I liked it. Okay, I enjoyed the movie, but she's really getting raked over the coals over several things. And I don't know if I don't really know her career so much, but that's a major leadership role that she directed and wrote it, I believe. So it was an ambitious project. So I get like the scrutiny, but I don't think that a man would have received as much scrutiny for doing the same thing.
I
Hmm.
know she's getting a lot because she wants to age naturally, and I know she's getting a lot of backlash about that as well.
What do people care? What do you care what her face looks like?
Yeah, who cares?
That
Hmm.
doesn't make her a good or bad movie maker.
So the woman in leadership that I found that I thought like, hey, this is pretty cool. Why isn't her name bigger? Is Reshma Sanjani.
Hmm.
So she's the founder of a nonprofit called Girls Who Code. So a former corporate lawyer for Wall Street, Rashima founded Girls Who Code in 2012 after becoming aware of the gender disparity in computing while she was running for a congressional office that she did not get, unfortunately. But the Girls Who Code is an international nonprofit org that offers specialized campus programs such as after school clubs and summer immersion programs to the female students. She also has a series of books focused on encouraging girls and women to enter to the tech fields. And she also founded Moms First, an advocacy group for working mothers that pushes for more public policy on reform, paid leave, and affordable childcare.
She's American?
She is.
Oh, nice.
So I think that not only is she leading and starting her own organizations, she's trying to empower other women. And that's sometimes, like with anybody else, you see kind of mixed. Some women are big on empowering other women, some are not.
I wonder if she has daughters, because I find that that is kind of a catalyst for a lot of men and women where you're like, oh no, I'm leaving this world to these younger women, and I need to do a better job of making sure it's a good place before I exit.
I like it. I like it.
She has two sons, apparently.
Interesting.
Oh, yeah, it is interesting.
I'm
Hmm.
sorry, I do find that interesting that it's not daughters.
Yeah, me too. I would guess daughters right off the bat just to help them out.
Hmm.
Hmm.
So
Interesting.
I said
Well,
the
I
other
I have
day,
two daughters, and I think well they were raised to be very independent people,
mhm.
and independent thinkers and motivated, and they've done very well in their lives. And they give credit to us for making them be, well, not making them, but having them go that way. It's just all the women I've been around in my life are very independent, very vocal, just great, hardworking, get the job done type of things. And I said the people like mentors in my life, one of the best mentors in my life, mind you, I have many years ago, I was in the banking industry and I was with the Federal Reserve for many years. And my boss and her boss, which we interacted a lot, was I don't know if you know Janet Yellen. Do you know her name? She was chair of
Mhm.
the Federal Reserve for years.
Mhm.
So she was my, well, not direct boss, but second right up. So met with her and talked with her all the time, and down to earth, practical person. Would see her in the elevator every day. I'd say morning to her. And she would always ask me, why do you never say good morning? It's always just morning. I said, well, it just started. I don't know if it's good or not. And she praised me for just talking to people because even with her title, she was a VP at the time. And she's like, you never look at me with titles. I said, I greet everybody the same. I said, you're just people. Yeah, you can yell at me, whatever, but it's fine. But she was so good and such a good motivator and one of the coolest people in the world. Then she moved on from our branch and moved up to the world and became the chair. And I'm like, holy cow, look at this lady go. She's amazing. And I still respect everything she's done. And she did it just by being professional, like no bridges burned, honest, educated. She's an amazing person.
Nice to see like good-hearted people succeed,
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
which I feel like is rare.
Especially in a male-dominated industry, banking's still fairly male-dominated, especially the upper ranks,
Mhm.
which it shouldn't be. It's like, come on. She made a difference. She was the best person ever.
So that was kind of the cheeseburger thing last week because first we had the McDonald's guy and it's like an older white guy with like graying hair, and then I think it was the Burger King one. After
Mhm.
that, I forget who I saw, but it was like another one around that same kind of demographic. And then it was this woman from Seattle, and in one of the comments of the video, uh, somebody said, "I'm just so happy to see like a not old white guy eating the cheeseburger. Like, why is it all the same?" I mean, I get it. Like, you can't just hand a leadership role like that to someone fresh out of college. I get it. Like they should be earning, they should know the business and they should put the time in to learn how to do it well. But it is a little bit disheartening to be like, you guys all literally even have the same haircut. So come on.
So I just found an interesting statistic. As of June of 2025, women run 11% of Fortune 500 companies. So,
11.
I mean, that's a small percentage relatively, but when you look at what that number was 10 or 15 years ago, it's growth.
Has it grown? That was my next question. Like, what did it look like previous? Is this like the highest it's ever been? I mean, you got to start somewhere.
So as of 2016, which was roughly 10 years ago, it was 4.2%.
Okay. All right, good.
So we
Hey,
got some
that's
growth.
in 10 years' time, it doubled. I think that's pretty good.
Still so low to me. It seems like that number should be double that.
I mean, as of the 60s, though, women were only even still allowed to be like secretaries and nurses. Like you had two job, paths.
True. I wasn't around in the 60s, so I can't comment on that statement, but
I'm really only going by what I saw on Mad Men, but
Well, I
Mad
once
Men.
had a female VP who explained women in leadership and the wage gap a little bit differently. I'm not sure I 100% agree with her, but I get the angle she's coming from. Was that females had such a late start and they're held back by so much
Mm,
familial duties and time off that they take to have kids and so forth, that it puts them, they're starting at a deficit. So they have to work their way out of it. And it's going to take us longer to catch up to the men who've been doing this throughout history. So, like I said, I'm not
yes, I
necessarily
love
sure I
that.
fully agree with it, but I think it's an interesting point to consider that,
Hmm.
like you were saying, we weren't very common in the workforce at all, even 40, 50 years ago.
Mhm. And then when we did join the workforce, it was just understood that you would make less than a man because you were a woman, is first of all, because that was legal. And second, that you would eventually leave, or they would make people get fired for being pregnant back then. So, or like as soon as people got, women got married, they would quit their jobs because it was uh embarrassing for their husbands for them to work. It's, I mean, it's not like men were living high on the hog either, because it was like if his wife had a job, it was like embarrassing for him.
it's very interesting. Did you see that Iceland banned the gender wage gap? It's illegal to have a wage gap between genders now.
Good. It should be. I mean, do we not have the same laws, except that companies here are finding ways to get around it?
Yeah, that's interesting.
Oh, I mean, I've in HR, like, when I first started, I questioned it because I remember receiving like the all data report, and I looked, I'm like, hey, this is all the same job. And it was a very much female dominated field, which I think is why I noticed it so much. And then I was like, hey, all the men make more than the women. What's the deal with that? And the HR person in my department, who was a woman, said it's because, it might be education, or it might be that they took time off to raise their kids, or it might be this, or it might be that. And I'm like, wow, that's a load of shit.
Well, that's a very important reason to do compensation analysis and compare equity both internally and externally to make sure that everybody is being paid fair. And there we have we do that for our clients, obviously. And we have had times when we've pointed out discrepancies to clients who maybe unintentionally did it and they made the corrections. But it's one of those things that sometimes people aren't even necessarily conscious of the fact that they're
Mhm.
giving somebody of a certain gender or race or religion more money than maybe what they're giving somebody comparable in their pay. So it happens.
The other part that bothers me is that one of the reasons that men typically make more is because they're not as afraid to negotiate. And I was like, I kind of have to remind myself, like, negotiate like a man. Like, you make me an offer for a job, that's just our opening, that's the first hit. And then we're going to go back and forth a little bit. Like, I've never accepted whatever wage they offered to start with, because that's like, I've been told that, like, that's how men feel. So I'm like, well, I'm going to feel the same way. And if you want me, then you'll pay me more, or give me more PTO, or whatever has been negotiated.
It's interesting. I would have never thought that. Mind you, for the years I've been doing this, I haven't really seen that. I've only seen it a couple times in different companies. Some larger company, I don't know. Has it changed? Are larger companies now more, uh, do they know more about this and are more aware? They're scared to be, oh, chased out legally.
Well, they have a lot more government compliance, larger companies.
Uh-huh.
So I'm sure that they have protocols in place. I would say, maybe employers that have 100 or more people on staff, they definitely have reporting that they have to. So I wonder if like it still happens, but then they extrapolate the data to say oh, okay, well, this one just has a 2-year degree, or this one has this, or, they have a gap in employment. I wonder if they really do justify it as opposed to just like paying everyone the same.
Yeah, that's interesting. I know I just started recruiting for one of my clients, and we're looking at the wages, and the wages, it was an interesting gap, a very large gap, but it was between someone who had very little experience to someone who's been doing the job for a long time. I'm like, okay, I understand that piece, but we
Yeah.
didn't put, we didn't put anything if male, female, whatever inside there.
Mhm.
And I won't do that when I'm recruiting. It's like, no, they all look the same to me. Interesting.
So we've made strides. We got more strides to make, but
Mhm.
yeah, I just kind of fell off there. Sorry. I had a point and then it just completely blanked on it.
Oh, well, it's like a deep thought. I've been thinking, okay, what examples do I have, and what cultures do we have? And is it something where do you see it more in big cities, small cities? I don't know, little towns. I don't know. It's where's it happening now, and how can we avoid it?
I think this situation will resolve itself only because now that I have 2 daughters who are tweens, they, first of all, never thought that boys could do more than what they could do. Like, I don't know
Hmm.
if it was me telling them or society
Oh,
telling them. It might have been a little bit of both, but they were very much like, I can rule the world just as well as the next person. So I think as they go into leadership positions, they are just going to be like, no, this is how it is. And they don't stand for people questioning it along gender lines at all.
yeah.
That's how I raised my kids as well. It was all gender neutral toys, or if they were gender toys, they were allowed to both play with them. It was never oh, you can't play with that because it's a doll, or you can't play with it because it's a truck. They played with everything. But
Oh,
I think millennials overall have done a really good job with raising their kids to think that there's not a big gender difference when it comes to work. And that women should be allowed to be questioning things, and it's not considered bossing or nagging. It's they're having leadership skills, and it's just the way we frame things to our children has been, I think, an improvement over what it's been in the past.
Mhm.
true. I'm gonna take this team out of millennials because I'm a Gen Xer, and I believe we started it.
Okay. And
No, and just in the same note with my daughters, we said, hey, girls can do anything a man can do, and sometimes, usually even better. Which is interesting fact because I said that statement once to one of our peers, and we can discuss after the call. They came back and said, no, I don't believe that. That's not true at all. They said, no, men can do things better, women can do things better. I'm like, really? Okay, we're not
Mm.
talking, I don't know what we're talking about, but professional sports, but hey, I believe there's equality in all. Let's go do it.
I like to go back to the phrase that I saw one time that said Ginger Rogers did everything that Fred Astaire did, but she was backwards and in heels. So like, don't play with me, bro. I know what you're doing. And I live with a man. So I do, I mean, he's a typical one also. He does a lot for like a typical man, and he's pretty clean too, because most of them are, I think, kind of filthy. Sorry, guys, you know who you are. I'm not saying you personally, Dean,
Okay. I'm
but
just like,
anyway, he's
okay,
like
okay.
competent compared to many of them, but I still do live with him. And if all of them are like him, it's like he'll take the garbage out or do whatever like his stuff is and be like, I took the garbage out. I wash the dishes. I put the like I do this stuff, but I don't have to announce it. So I feel like it's also that like men are more like they do their tasks, but then they like have to celebrate it. But women are just like more quiet about it. Like, yeah, who do you think is
so there was another one that stood out to me. Jessica O. Matthews.
Mhm.
She she at the age of 19 came up with a soccer ball that it generates energy as you use it. So by the time
What?
she was 22, she founded a company called Uncharted Power, which is committed to creating energy generating play products. She expanded the company to industrial power solutions and sustainable infrastructures for cities. And she has been recognized by the Smithsonian National Museum of American History for multiple patents and research, her research of which has been cited by industry leaders such as Sony, Intel, and Toshiba.
wow,
Wow.
good for her.
So, yeah, so pretty young, did quite a bit, and it's helping a lot of people.
Hmm.
Hmm.
So then, of course, we found other CEO and leaders. And then one of my favorites, Kim Scott, writer of Radical Candor. She was a leader many and pioneered the well, not really pioneered, but made famous the concept of radical candor. I mean, it's something she learned from other people, obviously, but yeah, she pretty good communication style.
So I found a couple interesting facts. I just quick Googled leaders. Quite a few countries, Italy, Denmark, Tanzania, Barbados, list goes on, with female presidents or prime ministers. But only 35% of the world's countries have had a female as head of state or um, top of government.
Well, do we
I
have a
look around.
trainer terminate
Oh,
today?
yeah. Trainer term.
We do. Again, I did not have a chance to review it ahead of time, so I'm just gonna read it as it is
Oh.
if everybody's okay
And
with
I
that.
apologize. I missed last week's. I had to run away for a fun term. But
Right.
last week I wanted to stay because I had so many more questions for our guest.
Yeah, that was a fun
That
call.
was
She's a
fun.
great guest. Another woman in leadership. She owns her own business, opened her own business here.
Hmm.
Yeah, it was fun to talk to her.
So that reminds
I
me
have
of a
a,
local business owner that we have, and she's a female. She owns a record store slash hippie store. It's called Red
oh,
Zeppelin and Groovy Coup. And she also runs an organization in the DFW area that celebrates women in the record industry in the area. So my husband actually just did a photography event or photographed an event for them. But yeah, they get together regularly, talk about leadership struggles for women, and it was pretty interesting. I wish I knew her name. I don't know what it is, but she does a lot.
Let's see. Let's see what we got. This one is overall regarding disruptive behavior.
oh, term.
One of my employees is genuinely kind, positive, and well liked, but they have a habit that's starting to disrupt workflow. They frequently stop by coworkers' desks to chat, tell stories, or share interesting things they've read online. Oh my God, it's the me of this office. None of it is inappropriate, and their intentions are clearly friendly. The problem, excuse me, the problem is that these visits can stretch into long conversations and interrupt people who are trying to focus. I've had team members quietly mention that it breaks their concentration, but they also don't want to hurt this person's feelings because they know the behavior is coming from a good place. The employee in question is otherwise a solid performer and contributes to a positive atmosphere, so I don't want to discourage their enthusiasm or make them feel like they're doing something wrong when they were just trying to connect with their coworkers. How can I address this innocent but disruptive behavior in a way that keeps our team culture positive while also protecting everyone's time and productivity?
That's a good one because there's not necessarily anything wrong. It's just the other coworkers who are trying to be more productive. And you can have conversations about that if there's multiple coworkers coming out. I think it's okay to provide that feedback and you let them know directly you are appreciated. We enjoy this about you. However, we have received a couple of concerns regarding the ability for others to concentrate when you're doing this. So maybe we could curtail some of that and have them be part of the solution.
Do you think the coworkers have said anything? I know when I've had complaints like that with someone who's being obnoxious. Well, have you told them they're obnoxious? Because sometimes they don't know. Sometimes that's just how they are. And take Nikki, for instance. She doesn't know she's disruptive and always talking.
So I'm just talking about culottes for 15 minutes this morning into the abyss and
I didn't
waiting
even know
for
what the hell that
someone to
was.
respond.
I'm like, I don't know what that is. I don't know.
I had to Google it.
Anyway. So, well, and isn't that first thing? Hey, tell this person you're knowing I get it work done. Go chat somewhere else. Go do whatever. Talk to me on break or whatever. Or don't talk to me on break. Has that been the first step taken? And if
That
that person's uncomfortable, come to me, then I will discuss that. I will say that same thing first before it. A scenario like this should never really get to HR. It should be taken care of by the lead supervisor manager, however they're set up.
That's a good point. If you have a team where communication and honesty is valued, then coworkers are going to be more comfortable having those conversations with each other. Like I feel like our team is very unique in that we're able to do that. That
Mhm.
if we have a concern with each other, we'll talk to each other without hurting feelings because we're being respectful in our presentation. I don't know that all teams are like that though.
Oh, definitely there could be a cultural. I think most companies have cultural issues interpersonally that would not support that kind of feedback with each other. So I have a different idea, being that I'm chatty Kathy. Um, I think this is a training opportunity for the entire team because it may be that this is the only person who really engages people in friendly chatter, which I think is vital to a workplace. And I feel like time should be built into the week to allow for this inane chatter because we're not robots and we're not just going to come in and, I'm doing my work, goodbye. In order to foster those really deep and healthy relationships, you need to have the inane chatter, and there should be time made for it. But that being said, everyone should feel free to be like, I need to focus right now, and I can't listen to you talk about culottes.
True. And what if it's like in a production facility where they're running 18,000 widgets an hour and you don't have time to sit there and chat. You have to do your work or you get behind and crash everything. Say, hey, go focus, get your damn job done, and let's move on from there. We can chat when we have a break.
Okay, our privilege is showing because we all assumed that this was like a knowledge-based workplace where people are sitting at desks and working on their computers. That is a great point, Dean. I mean, in that case, like, so have you worked in those kinds of environments? You know that there are people who sit around the lunch table and that's when
Uh-huh.
they have their personal chats and they share their time or they take breaks, going to the water cooler or whatever. And then there's the people who need to decompress in those environments, and they're not the ones who are like friends with everybody, but they get their work done and
They're the
nobody,
smokers.
right? Not always. Sometimes it's the people who just don't want to sit with anybody at lunch and they
No, I
want to
agree.
eat their lunch and not chitter chatter.
Yep, exactly. So yeah, it's and depending on the environment, the outcome's going to be the same. The person needs to be told, hey, stop, we can do this on when we actually have time to do this.
Or
But
read the room. If the person you're talking to looks busy, you need to give them space and walk away.
yeah,
Because if
we
the
want to use
manager
common
comes in and
sense.
says you're talking to your peers too much, that person's never going to say anything again. And the whole vibe of the office is going to be negative.
And we want common sense and say read the room, but how many
What did we decide? I've said I'm going to say train the team on being more assertive.
I think train both, train the individual because they deserve to know, but also train the team because I think the team needs to be able to communicate appropriately.
Yeah, I agree. I'm a train
Each
on this one because they may
individual.
not know they're being disruptive.
Yeah, definitely not. It doesn't sound
Or
like
we
that.
or we have one teammate who's like, "This person talked to me. Can we stop it?" So I've had teammates like that before, employees like that. Like, well, Joe's talking to me too much. I'm like, what did Joe say? Well, he asked me how my day was. I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay, stop.
It is so foreign to me to be that level of uncomfortable with like someone who is speaking to me to not be able to like you can say it jokingly if you're too uncomfortable to like be serious about it, but the point is like
Uh-huh.
did you just land on Earth today? Like you need to be able to talk to people when they're doing something that you
I
don't like.
agree. Well, and I like what Doctor said earlier. Just you come in a room and say something that's inappropriate and maybe leave. I think that's a great icebreaker, depending how inappropriate it was. But, you just come in and say something silly and people go, what? I'll go
Sometimes it
with
is
it.
the manager. Like this is your team. Get your shit together.
There,
Mhm.
that's what we've noticed. I mean, as you get experience, you'll find out how many bad managers there are, or how many people, maybe not even bad managers, how many people have never learned how to manage.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it because we promote high performers. We don't necessarily
Hmm.
promote for the soft skills, the leadership skills,
Mhm.
which one of our products, our HRE solutions, we do have some leadership training that goes over some of those basic skills.
That's perfect, yes. And if you use us as fractional support, we can go over those basic skills as well, one-on-one, person to person. We're very good at what we do. I do that. I have, like I said, I do a manager training every month, and it's so much fun to go and do, and especially when you get involved. It always goes long because we get people involved. It's
Mhm.
good. Remember, we are HR Service Unscripted, right? We're on Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube. Give us a thumbs up and a subscribe.